So the point guard position might be the deepest position still in the NBA. We're coming off of a decade, the 2010 decade, that was the golden age of point guards, and the talent pool just seems to be getting deeper and deeper across all positions. But I wanted to focus on point guards because we are seeing leaps in improvement of play from two particular point guards that are still young and establishing themselves in the league. And I'm talking about third-year guard Ja Morant and, of course, LaMelo Ball on the Charlotte Hornets, who is everybody's favorite league pass team, and rightfully so. They are absolutely fun to watch. The Memphis Grizzlies are fun to watch too, and it's because Ja Morant has taken a leap in his play and his production this year so far in this young season. Also, LaMelo Ball as well. These are two of the up-and-coming creative point guards in the NBA. Setting aside ranking who's better or whatever, I just think in terms of creativity, these two guys are absolutely a blast to watch. They have been the minute they stepped into the league. LaMelo Ball came off the bench last year until injuries allowed him to start, and the minute he started, he just took off running with the starting job, and he has obviously made improvements this year. They're both creative in different ways. Ja Morant's ability to maneuver through the air somehow and glide while adjusting midair for a layup, or finding a dump-off pass for a big, or kicking it out to a shooter because of his great passing vision. And LaMelo, in his case, in terms of creativity, he's one of the most daring passers already that I have seen in a very long time. Any pass he sees, he will try it. He sees passing lanes before they even open. Both great passers. I think LaMelo is better in that regard, just in terms of the creativity, the daring passes, the outlet passes, being able to just push the ball up the court, the amount of time or the lack of time that he has the ball in his hands because he's moving it so quickly. And then Ja, as I mentioned earlier, his aerial acrobatics just help out his passing, which is very sublime, and he has very good vision. These two point guards have just been awesome to watch as these two teams are making a little bit of noise so far this year. So starting with Ja, the Grizzlies are 4-3 right now. They started off a little bit hot to start the season, but have cooled off, especially after getting their asses whooped by Miami the other night. But this team is figured to be in the mix because Ja's leap in play. I mentioned in an earlier video that I wasn't a fan of the Grizzlies offseason, mainly because of the trade of Jonas Valanciunas and Steven Adams, but Steven Adams has actually been really great for the Grizzlies. He is being used more as a passer. He's just being used in a lot more different ways, but the reason the Grizzlies are outperforming so far, at least my expectations, is because Ja Morant has finally taken the leap that I think a lot of people thought would happen last year, but of course injuries and some inconsistent play kind of derailed that. But now he's here. He's averaging 28 points per game, over 7 assists per game, and over 5 rebounds per game. But look at the efficiency. Shooting 52% from the field, his three-point attempts are up, his three-point percentage is above league average, but more importantly, his true shooting percentage, because he's making his free throws more, is now up to 61.6. So not only has he started off the year with better numbers, but the efficiency is there to back it up for the numbers crunchers that like to look at that type of stuff. More importantly, he's a terror in transition. His creativity, his footwork, the way that he glides up the court, I don't know if you can teach that. There's just a fluidity and a smoothness with how Ja operates when he has the ball in his hands. He's a very adept cutter as well off the ball. There are plenty of times where, at least so far this year, where passers would hit Morant on the back door. Steven Adams has found him a few times as well. It's just really fun to see these young guards improving, and especially in a fan base like Memphis, which the crowds were crazy during the grit and grind era, especially at the height of it when they made it to the Western Conference Finals. And then, of course, they had to transition from the grit and grind era to the Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson era. Now, while the jury is still out for me on Jackson, I need to see him stay healthy. In terms of transitioning to another era with young stars like Ja Morant, if you are a Grizzlies fan or an NBA fan in general looking to see how Morant was going to come into the season this year in terms of improvement, I think we're already seeing it, and he's going to be a force for years to come. LaMelo LaMelo Ball has also improved in his own different ways. While he has the gift and the curse of being one of the most creative passers ever, he will throw some wild-ass turnovers. But overall, you don't want to rein in a guy like that with so much creativity too much, because then you'll hamper his confidence, which LaMelo has in abundance. LaMelo Ball so far this year is averaging 20 points a game, over 6 assists, over 6 rebounds. The field goals are down, but that's because he's taking 7.4 threes per game and shooting them at 44%, which was the big wild card with LaMelo coming out of the draft. One, the shots that he was taking were really wild. The shot selection was wild, but also how accurate was he going to be from three-point range? We all saw the talent. Mike Smits had LaMelo number 1 in the 2020 draft because the immense talent was obviously there, and that talent has translated almost immediately for him in the NBA. In terms of passing, the shooting is now there. I would like to see him get more free throws. I think his first step is actually really underrated. I think coming out of the draft, he was billed as someone who was not really quick twitch, but I don't see that. I think he has no problem getting by on-ball defenders. When he gets to the rack, he's then kicking it out to the shooters, but the problem is he's just not getting contact. He's trying not to, get dirty in the paint with it, finishing through contact. He's trying to avoid the defender. And also, like I mentioned earlier, he's taking 7.4 threes per game. And some of them are wild shots. Some of them are time and situation shots where you just don't want to see him taking that. But again, I have to emphasize, LaMelo Ball is 20 years old. He's going to figure it out. Those type of players figure it out. Yeah, you're going to have to rein him in a little bit sometimes if you're head coach James Borrego. But with a talent like that, you don't want to limit him too much. Now, his defense is still bad. He plays passing lanes a little too aggressively. I think he tries to see the play one step ahead too often, and he'll gamble and miss. And also, he's rail thin, so he's just going to get bullied. But he's a really good rebounder, a really good passer, and one of the best passers already that I've ever seen from a point guard. But for a 20-year-old to be averaging 26 and 6 so far into this young season, and hopefully it sustains, the sky is the limit for the Charlotte Hornets, who are not only one of the more cooler franchises in the NBA, and just in terms of jersey design, jersey color, and yes, I'm into that shit. I'm into all aspects of basketball. Sorry. They have the cool court, and they have a fan base that's just ready to see a winning product. The Hornets have been awesome so far this year. And not only that, LaMelo Ball is consistently a plus in terms of net rating, kind of no matter what lineup he's in. And of course, if he has off nights, he'll, I'm sure Borrego will sit him on the bench. He did that earlier in the season when the Hornets went into Brooklyn and beat the Nets by 16. But for the most part, if you're looking at trajectory, LaMelo Ball has taken the lead. Now, he's not, a star yet, and I don't like to throw the word star around too often. At least I try not to anymore because we just use it a lot nowadays. But you just can't help but be tantalized by LaMelo's talent, which is very apparent. And that's sort of the theme for this video. Both of these guards, Ja Morant and LaMelo Ball, are already some of the most exciting point guards in the NBA to watch, and it's on top of already a crop of young, exciting players dating back to the 2017 draft. I mean, the crop of players that have come, at least since that draft, has already given the league so much promise for the future. This is the deepest talent the league has ever had, and in terms of point guards, these two are going to be at the forefront. Ja Morant is 22, LaMelo is 20. Both are creative in their own different ways. The fact is, they're in small markets like Charlotte and Memphis. And when talent is spread around the league like that, the league is successful, the product is better, and the fan bases of those teams are happier, and there's just more diversity. Hopefully in the future, we will see these teams on national television more often, because these guys are next.